Tickering.
Hello guys, and welcome to an extra special reaction video right after the victory. Well, I say right after, it's been a little while, let's be honest. There had to be a level of composure and we had to go away and speak to the manager, etc, etc. But a 2-1 win after an extra time period that was fairly stressful, I would imagine, for all Rangers fans watching at home and certainly those at the ground. But a tumultuous game. I thought an excellent performance. Derek, I'm going to come to you right away. What's your instant reaction? I thought Rangers were absolutely superb to a man today, especially given they played 120 minutes already this week and in a huge game against Braga. And to do that again and look like the fitter team, I thought was quite something.
Yeah, and they showed great character. Van Bronckhorst mentioned this in his post-match press conference. He said that it's been a tremendous week and the players really dug deep, and he praised his substitutions as well and the impact they made when they came on. I think that they certainly made a difference. And I think they deserved the win, Jonny. I think totally, me and Josh were looking at the possession stats and it was pretty close in terms of the possession, but it appeared that Rangers were totally bossing the game. Some of their final balls were perhaps lacking and deliveries into the box wasn't quite what we expect at times. But I think that they were truly deserving of the victory. The Celtic goal, you have to say, is well worked. It's a training ground routine for the free kick, and it's unfortunate the strike comes off Bassey. It takes it away from John McLaughlin. But that aside, I felt that Rangers were fantastic comeback from them. And as I mentioned, the goal itself for Scott Arfield to get the goal after the two misses on Thursday night, and Van Bronckhorst did have a little joke about that because, of course, he mentioned he would going to practice shooting with Roy Mackay. So the finish itself was exquisite, and the winning goal as well. Sakala claiming it. He's not having it. That came off Starfelt. He's totally claiming the goal, and it was great to see. And I think totally deserving of the victory here. I don't think Celtic can have too many complaints. There were Ange Postecoglou was quizzed on why Rangers had more energy than Celtic in the extra time period, and he didn't want to be drawn on that. He just says it was two teams slugging it out, basically, and Rangers came out on top on this occasion. But that was a surprise to me, Jonny. I felt that Rangers would be struggling in terms of legs, especially for extra time after going through the match against Braga. But it was, I don't know if it's adrenaline that took them through, but they certainly emptied the tank.
Yeah, Josh, just on the tactics, let's get stuck into this. These last three games have probably been about as interesting tactically as any Old Firm games in recent years. The two teams obviously well coached, going at each other, high level kind of patterns of play going on. And I thought today it was just on a knife edge the whole time. Both teams were capable of causing the other one problems, two very good sides. But I thought Rangers, the way they gambled, you had to look at Calvin Bassey, for example, the way he kept on coming in tight to Tom Rogic, nicking the ball off his feet. And the way Van Bronckhorst set his team up to find solutions to some of these problems that Celtic have posed in recent games. And that one in particular, with Bassey really being aggressive, getting in there. And Tom Rogic was completely neutered, which was a stark contrast to the previous two battles between these sides. And I think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and the player deserve an incredible amount of credit for that.
Yeah, it's probably one of the reasons as well why Bassey played instead of Balogun, because Balogun can play that high, but Bassey's even more mobile and quick than him. I don't think it was too different to what Rangers did at Ibrox, and Van Bronckhorst just listened to his Rangers TV interview and he kind of said as much. He said we only had half a day to really prepare for this, but it was a constant game of risk. You're right, Jonny, because one slip from either side and there was so much space to break into, and I think Rangers got the better of it, but I don't think they really had the pace in midfield. Neither Aribo or Ramsey were really lightning quick on the ball, taking advantage of the space when Rangers did win the ball high up the pitch. But I think the difference between this game and Ibrox is that Rangers didn't make stupid mistakes, and they had a goalkeeper in John McLaughlin who really commanded his area. But they also had a goalkeeper in John McLaughlin, as we spoke about before the game, who was really composed on the ball, and that led to a couple of nervy moments early on. But overall, you have to say that played a big part in proceedings, because it meant that Rangers could afford to put players higher up the pitch, especially James Tavernier late in the game when they really didn't have anyone else breaking the line. because McLaughlin could act as an extra outfielder effectively, and taking the sting out of things. So I thought it was, and Van Bronckhorst I think changed it as well before the goal. I don't think I'd seen a single Connor Goldson diagonal before he put out to James Tavernier, and thereafter there was quite a few attempts before the end of the game. Ryan Kent moved a lot more centrally at that point. And then as well, you have to say, to gamble at the time, to take off 2 penalty takers, really, for 2 players who probably weren't going to take penalties is pretty impressive management. And obviously Calvin Bassey, after Barisic has had a decent game, it's Calvin Bassey that has the energy to overlap and deliver his type of cross compared to perhaps Barisic's cross from deep. So I think excellent all round, and it was a seismic victory for the manager because he couldn't have lost 3 games in a row against Celtic, I don't think, without a lot of criticism. And yeah, he got it right today.
Yeah, he absolutely did. Listen, we're going to obviously go into a lot more detail on this tomorrow morning. So I'm going to keep this quite top line today just to give the basic reaction to the game, and then we can drill a lot more into the detail. But the one name that just stood out to me, Derek, he was man of the match, John Lundstrom. I think he's becoming player of the year, isn't he?
Yeah, he's certainly in for a shout, Jonny. It's been a remarkable turnaround, and I know you tweeted earlier, it's almost like Mark Hateley vibes. They come back in him, and the fans love him. He's certainly learning his role now, and the demands that are playing for Rangers. I think it was fair to say he struggled with that when he first joined. Of course, remember when he gets sent off against Alishkert in January time. Nobody would be surprised if he headed out on loan, and we've never seen him in the Rangers jersey again. But he's come back in, and he's the driving force in this side. Absolute powerhouse, bossed the game today, deservedly named man of the match. And when he's on form, he's a real joy to watch. He clattered into McGregor, a great tackle. It was a fair challenge, but he sent him flying up in the air. And Rangers have, me and Joshua were speaking about this during the game, Rangers have needed a guy like that, a proper an enforcer in midfield. Remember that they brought in who there was Koulibaly on loan, and he looked like he could be that player until he got injured against St Mirren. But Lundstrom is the real deal, and he's really shown why Rangers pushed the boat out to bring him in last summer. He was exceptional again today, and he'll be massive for Rangers for this end of season. The games that are going to take part in, of course, the 2 Leipzig games will be huge. The final, of course, massive. And you're right, Jonny. I think he's right up there. Him, Tavernier, and Bassey for me are the 3 standout performers for the Player of the Year. Yeah.
Bassey was outstanding again today, as I've already kind of mentioned. Listen, this is another good point. John Parks saying the substitutions were not bad either. Now, Gio was taking a heck of a lot of stick before that second goal went in for the substitutions. I think a lot of people were surprised that Scott Wright came on when Aaron Ramsey limped off. I thought Scott Wright had moments, as he often does. You know, he's a highly skilled player with a wonderful ability of running with the ball. I thought also perhaps he kind of maybe wasn't so strong on the other side of the game, but more generally, Arfield gets the goal, and Sakala obviously very, very close to being on the end, and certainly caused Starfelt to make the error that put the ball in the net for the own goal. So in terms of substitutions, Joshua, you have to say it was a victory for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah, and I think as well, Scott Wright maybe didn't have that much end product, but as we were speaking about a minute ago with players kind of not making the most of space in the middle of the pitch, I thought Wright did that a few times, even if the end product wasn't there, and he gave Rangers some legs in the middle of the pitch, because Celtic had a lot of, I think, runners on the pitch, and I think especially when you've got players like Ruth who aren't used to playing that many minutes, to maintain the pressure, you need someone like Scott Wright to come on. And I don't know if there was many other options. I mean, I don't know if Arfield would have had the remainder of the game in him. Kamara obviously isn't an offensive-minded player in the way that he would carry the ball. I think he plays that number 10 role in a different type of way, certainly not when you're probably chasing the game or chasing a goal. And I think the big one for me is bringing on Sakala for Ruth, because he could have easily held out for penalties at that moment. And listen, if Rangers had lost this game on penalties after it going 1-1, I don't think there'd have been too much criticism, because they were really good. I think the approach play at points in and around the box lacked the final ball, which is quite consistent with this team, and I don't think is a new issue. But it wouldn't have been a case of the manager getting it terribly wrong, the players lacking application. I think, as I say, the 120 minutes in midweek would have been a valid counterpoint to any accusations that came the team's way. So for the manager to gamble and not stick with his team at that point, I think was a really good decision. And as we talked about before, Jonny, recovery in game, not flinging crosses in. How many times when Rangers are in that position, 20 minutes to go, do they just fling crosses in instead of James Tavernier cheating the last man and whatnot? Rangers hold stale possession. You only have to go back to the game against Hibs when we were sat here in November. So I think real good signs of progression. Obviously, the last time Rangers were here, Van Bronckhorst was in the box watching perhaps a performance that epitomised how far this team could have gone under the previous regime. Sorry, easy for me to say. And obviously, it's not the end of the season yet. We don't know what will happen, but certainly this week is really significant and successful for the management team.
Yeah, not just the management team, guys. I was thinking, and I said in my post-match instant reaction, Ross Wilson was coming under a bit of fire, but it does help when you have 2 or 3 signings come and turn up in a game like this. And you've got to say, as I've already said, Calvin Bassey, John Lundstrom, Fashion Sakala, all making decisive impacts on this match. And if he was under a wee bit of pressure, if people were starting to cast a bit of light over what he was doing and what he's been doing at the club, then doesn't that have to take a little bit of the heat off to see those kind of reactions, to see those kind of inputs from those kind of players, Derek?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're good players. They don't become bad players overnight. And it's just the nature of the beast with football, isn't it? If they aren't delivering, then Ross Wilson comes under a bit of scrutiny. But yeah, delighted to see those players you just mentioned come up with the goods, Jonny. They were terrific for me. Bassey, I just can't get over the energy of the guy to be bombing forward like that and firing the ball into the box was terrific. And then I just absolutely loved his celebration when he vaulted the advertising hoarding and it was all going bananas behind the goal. It's just great scenes, isn't it? And there's a real connection between the fans and even the fans singing Gio's name throughout the game as well. I know we've been discussing at length about the pressure being on him. I done a piece obviously last week about having to win at least one of Braga and today. He's managed to win both. And I think a number of fans are now starting to get on board the Giovanni Van Bronckhorst train. They know he's got a plan in place and they can see the style of football he wants to play. Of course, John McLaughlin came in today, and as Joshua mentioned, I think he did well. A few shaky moments to begin with, but you can see why he was brought in. Rangers were looking to invite Celtic in and play from the back, and John McLaughlin, of course, better with his feet than Alan McGregor, so I could understand why he opted for him. But yeah, those players that you mentioned, Lundstrom, deservedly man of the match. Bassey, what an engine on the guy. He had a couple of shaky moments in the second half where he almost caught in possession, but his recovery rate and pace to get back in position and his physicality, I think, I mean, him and Rogic, it was a good duo, they two coming up against each other, and I don't think Rogic, I think Rogic came second best in most of them. And like you say, Sakala coming on and getting that, I know he's going to claim the goal, and quite rightly so, but to have a vital impact in terms of the winning goal will just endear him to the Rangers supporters even more so. And I've seen a comment coming in about Scott Wright. You know what you get with Scott Wright. I think we all know his final ball is found wanting at times. He has to improve upon that, but other than that, I thought he was direct. I thought he did well when he came on. The Ramsey, of course, is the only slight on the victory today. Jonny, I'm quite pessimistic with that. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was quite down about it. He says it's not good. He'll be assessed tomorrow, but if there's a hamstring injury, that could be a season ender, unfortunately. Yeah. So fingers crossed it's not that bad.
Yeah, that would obviously be a major downer from the game, but I suppose Rangers do have the cover there, although you're always going to feel the loss of a player like Aaron Ramsey. I didn't actually think he had a particularly good game, but he's so clever in terms of the positions that he takes up. He's so good in terms of his ability to take the ball down in tight areas, take it in spaces that other players just wouldn't take the ball.
Yeah.
That just through those qualities alone, he causes serious problems. And he's got that ability just to find space. The great German player Thomas Müller was always marked out by not his technical ability or even his ball control. He wasn't great at that, but he just knew when to turn up in the space. And that is absolutely what Aaron Ramsey has. And even half fit, you can see that. So that would be a bit of a loss. I just want to drill down a little bit more detail on John McLaughlin, guys. I wasn't that impressed with him in the first half, ball to feet. I thought he had a couple of shaky moments. I don't think he was any better than Alan McGregor in that regard. Second half, he was much calmer, I thought, and didn't really look fussed. There was a couple of moments where I thought actually he was almost a little bit too nonchalant. He's certainly more comfortable at playing passes out than McGregor is, who will go longer, quicker. But I'll tell you where he did make a huge difference, and that was with regarding those balls into the box. He was throwing himself at the ball, punching the ball away, getting a strong hand on them, and it was a big difference from McGregor, who you know is going to be rooted to his line, looking to make the spectacular save. He was taking serious pressure off his side with some of those moments, and he was very, very good in terms of his handling as well. Celtic's crossing perhaps wasn't at its best, but at the same time, he didn't really put a foot wrong in the game in that regard.
I think on his ball distribution, even though you look at, we'll obviously get the stats tomorrow in terms of how many passes he played.
Yeah.
But Rangers, I don't think ever really, it's not even maybe so much the type of passes, but even just dragging Celtic out to that degree. I don't think you ever really see that with Alan McGregor because he's not as comfortable. And, we've talked about this a lot. And
yeah,
McGregor's has been a fantastic goalkeeper and is better than McLaughlin in some areas as well, probably his shot stopping. But I totally agree with you on the crosses, Jonny. I do think that McLaughlin did really well just to invite Celtic pressure. I think you'd have seen it punished more efficiently if Ryan Kent's end product was better. I mean, you look at the pass that Ramsey plays into Kent when I think that was a minute into the game and it's just behind him. There was lots of these moments which won't show up on necessarily the XG and whatnot because Rangers, the final ball wasn't great. And I think what will be interesting to see is when Van Bronckhorst gets some more of his own players in the summer, perhaps players that are more suited to his style of football, because you see that today and there's similarities to the way Gerrard played, but there's also pretty notable differences. It'll be interesting to see what the effect is of that, because I thought, as I say, there was kind of a lack of that. Someone in the middle of the pitch who could just carry the ball into space and make good effect of it. So interesting debate, I guess, about McLaughlin, what games he plays in for the rest of the season, because I think in particular the type of cross that teams have played against Rangers and put on top of Alan McGregor in recent weeks, it didn't work, and that I think was calming for all the Rangers support and probably the Rangers players as well.
Jonny, the first half, Goldson was berating McLaughlin because he wasn't happy with some of his distribution. He was involved a lot, of course, because they're trying to invite Celtic pressure, weren't they? But it's heart and mouth stuff on a number of occasions. The time when he obviously miscontrolled it, goes out for a corner. Yeah. But it looked a bit uncomfortable at times. But I think, like you say, I think he grew into the game. And those I mentioned to Joshua during the game, there was a ball that was whipped in, and he came out and collected it. And Al McGregor wouldn't have come off his line, but it just adds a calmness to the back four, doesn't it? When you see your goalkeeper just coming out and collecting those high balls, and just takes the pressure off.
Yeah. Listen, we've got 500 people on live, so just take the point to say, guys, if you enjoy what we do this every weekday morning, 9:30. Come on, subscribe. You'll get a notification to tell you that we're going live, and we chew the fat over Rangers every single day. The guys are at all the matches, and they do match reports direct from the stadiums after the games as well. So you're basically getting content 6 days a week from us at the Rangers Review. If you want to support us doing that, please go onto the website, www.rangersreview.co.uk. We've got a £1 offer at the moment where you can subscribe and get 2 months absolutely free. On top of that, we'll take a list of the subscribers that have signed up in the last month, and one of them will receive an unbelievable prize, which is a tour of Ibrox with a club legend for 4 people. And you'll get access to all our premium content, everything we do, the tactical stuff. We've got a partnership with StatsBomb that allows us to give you really deep dive analysis of everything Rangers do. All our opinion pieces, all our freelancers who come on and give us great opinion pieces as well, historical pieces looking at Rangers back to their history. And that's basically absolutely superb offer for what you get for your in terms of bang for your buck. It's only £1, so please go on there and subscribe. You can see that the subscription page has been put into the notifications there. Listen, we're going to move on a little bit now. I just want to ask you, Josh, Just the pure emotion of this game. I thought Celtic looked out on their feet. Ange Postecoglou in his post-match, I don't know what he was like with you, Derek, but on the telly, he was very, how would you describe it? Subdued, flat. He wasn't aggressive and like, we're going to get back up from this. And he was very, very downbeat. What was he like with you? And how do you think this will affect Celtic psychologically in this league title race?
He was very sort of dour, Jonny, in the post-match press conference. Sort of maybe understandable. His side have just been knocked out of the Scottish Cup and he's been denied a treble. So he's obviously disappointed at that. And the fact that Rangers have just looked fitter than them, look like they've got more energy, must hurt him as well, because he prides himself in finishing games strongly and in the fitness of his side. But a lot of them were blowing. I felt that the Celtic players, and that will upset him. But I think in the cold light of heart today, they'll sit down and it will just need to try and regroup. And you mentioned that they've got 5 games remaining to go and win the league. They'll be hoping this doesn't manifest itself and slip up in the league, because Rangers have taken a massive lift, not only from today, but from Thursday as well. So you feel much more confident that they're not going to slip up in the league. It'll be interesting to see what team, if there's a bit of squad rotation with regard with who Rangers have got, of course, in the Europa League coming up. So that'll be interesting. But certainly it was like that. Jonny, he came down, he was very subdued. Just wanted to get the press conference over and done with and head back. He was hugely disappointed, and particularly as well. I mean, they take the lead, and you're thinking to yourself, if you're a Celtic supporter, they'll go on and see it out. So it must hurt that Rangers have come back, fought back, and denied them a treble.
I mean, here's the key thing, Josh. Rangers go to Motherwell in their next game. Okay, the first game after the split. If they win that, it's 3 points. Celtic have got to go up to Ross County, which we all know is a tough place, and they have to bounce back. The pressure is on in that game. That's a real test. If you're talking about the 5 games that are left, that's one of them, I think, that you would say, not an easy place to go. Very athletic, aggressive young team. Malky Mackay's done a great job. They'll want to come fourth, and they've got a great shout at coming fourth. Do you think that's something that's a place where the pressure could get to them if Rangers can get that win against Motherwell?
There's always a possibility. I mean, the difficulty is when you're relying on another team to help you win the title, it's in a difficult position. And obviously Celtic, I think, are unbeaten in 26 league games, but you never know how today will affect them. All Rangers can do, as has been the case, is win their games. And obviously they didn't win the game at Ibrox, which is still hugely detrimental, likely to their league chances. But you know, I think this team, what they've shown in particular in Europe, is such an amazing mental capacity to go out and play football against such good teams. And I think what you wanted out of this month of April was to still keep the dream of silverware alive. And if Rangers were to not win the league title this year, I still think it would be a failing. Obviously, you know, last week Van Bronckhorst was under a lot of pressure, and this week he's not. But you know, that's the nature of 2 football results. If Van Bronckhorst has lost these 2 games, there'd be huge questions about his future, because that's just how football works, and that's how big games work, and why they have the highs are so high and the lows are so low. So I guess in May we'll find out, Jonny. But absolutely all Rangers can do is go and win that game. I'm sure they'll have a good rest. I was just I tweeted out recently that Conor Golson, what he said to Rangers TV afterwards, which was that his legs were tired today, but they said at half-time, fatigue is mental and your body can take you where you want to go. And I think that kind of says everything, really. And that said, I'm sure the team will enjoy a deserved rest in the next couple of days and hopefully continue their good form against Motherwell before, obviously, the trip to Leipzig the week after.
Yeah, great. Well, Scottish Ray, you do love a wee channel. Please subscribe, and everyone else, hit that subscribe button. You'll get a notification telling you when we go live. We go live every day, Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. till 10 a.m, talking about the big issues facing Rangers. It is superb content, if I do say so myself. Right, guys, we're going to call it a day there. It's been great chatting with you. It's been fantastic to see all the comments. I hope everyone goes away with a smile on their face, and we can get back to you tomorrow. Only, just a matter of a few hours now, and we'll be back chatting to you tomorrow morning at 9:30. We'll go into this game in a lot more detail. Joshua will have his detailed stats by then, and we can start to tell you a few of the little things you may have missed from the game and drill into some more of the detail around what happened on the day. We've not even touched on Bobby Madden, for example. The name hasn't even been mentioned. And yet, I suspect by tomorrow, that might well be the entire ballgame. So let's just see how we get on with that, guys. Thanks very, very much for watching, and we'll catch up with you again soon.